you very much.
With us also from Studio B, all the way in Meru County, Amogeta West, is Honorable DMK Kiogora. Karibu sana mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Great. Thank you for joining us. We also expect Honorable June Denwa, who is a member of the County Assembly of the Nairobi City County, and she will also be joining us shortly. But before she joins us, we're going to go ahead and start our conversation. So remember to follow us on our social media pages at Africa Youth Leadership Forum, at AYLF, and please keep the questions and comments coming. And so to start us off, Honorable Moshisho, we saw the other day that you were conferred with the title of Elder. Could you please explain what that was about?
Thank you very much, moderator, wakili wa kesho. I'm a graduate from Moranhood to elderhood. Our culture has got 4 stages. First, you're separated, and you're set aside as an age set. Then there is a ceremony that you have to undergo called Enkebara. That is being ready for circumcision. Then after circumcision, you become a warrior, a Moran. Then the next ceremony is Eunoro. After Eunoro, you are shaved off the long dreads of a warrior. And then the last one, actually for the three main is Olngesher, where we did yesterday. And I'm now an elder of the Maasai community. Yes, yes. So actually the 3 rites of passage, Kajiado led a delegation to go and champion for protection of the 3 rites of passage, and very soon, if not the interruption of COVID-19, the president will have launched the issue of the 3 rites of passage to be protected by UNESCO. Yes, wow. Yes.
Wow, that is amazing, and it's really nice to hear that, and
awesome.
Thank you for the little class on your culture.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Thank you. And so to get into the conversation, so today we are going to discuss about county assemblies and everything about county assemblies, from composition to the roles of the members of the county assembly, to the relationship between the county assembly and the county executives. So basically today we want to demystify the roles of the assembly. We know that one of the things, the gains of the constitution was that it introduced devolution, and with devolution came the concept of county governments, of which the county assemblies comprise and make of the county government. So again, with us we have an elected member of the county assembly, Honorable DMK Kiogora, who will be sharing his insights on what the role of the county assemblies are, you know, the composition and everything that is expected of them by us, Mwananchi, and young people. We also have Honorable Moshisho, who from his perspective as a member of the county executive, as a deputy governor, he will explain to us, you know, the relationship between the executive and the assembly, because we see in the media a lot of fighting and wrangles between the executive and our assemblies. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are honestly looking forward to this amazing discussion. And maybe to start us off, Honorable Kiogora, kindly, please unmute yourself. Thank you very much. And so, when we're talking about the role of, you know, the role of the county assembly, to start us off, we want to look at what makes a good member of the county assembly. The Constitution and the Elections Act gives us the qualifications of a member of the county assembly, including that one has to be, you know, registered as a voter, one has to be a citizen, you have to be a person of sound mind, you are not supposed to be bankrupt, and so on and so forth. But the question is, and when it comes to the nuts and bolts of things, what do you think makes a good member of a county assembly? Is it one who is at the forefront of organizing demonstrations? Is it one who is quick to give money to the people? Or is it one who shouts the loudest and, comrade power and haki yetu? In your opinion, as an elected member of the County Assembly of Meru, what do you think makes a good MCA?
Very much occasion. So I'm very much happy to see Martin after some time. We have not met since COVID started.
Sure,
I'm so happy
sure,
to
sure,
see
bro.
him today. I'm so happy
Nice seeing you, bro.
to see you to occasion. So I think the Constitution defines the roles of the MCA as representation, oversight, and legislation. That the Constitution sees the MCA as someone who sits in the Assembly to pass bills that emanate from the Assembly, from members, petitions from members of the public, and to discuss other legislative matters, and also to represent the issues of the people through the Assembly. Then through the Assembly takes those matters to the executive for implementation, and also oversight by ensuring that the money that is given to the county executive by the national government is spent wisely, and money also from other sources like donors is spent wisely, and also to ensure that things run in an open and fair manner. It's like oversight is like a guardian, someone who is put there to be a guardian of resources that belong to the public. Petitions of the members of the public are a little bit different from what is in the spirit and the letter of the Constitution, because the members of the public expect members of the county assembly also to have some executive powers, like to be executors of projects, to be doing those things, and you're forced to do them, because if you don't do them, you don't succeed as a politician. So the expectations of members of the public are majorly on execution, not on those other three functions that are laid out in the Constitution. They expect you to play the executive function, that they tell you the problems that they have and that you will be coming to solve them, either directly or indirectly. So I think it's not to say that expecting members of the public expecting that you play executive functions is playing outside the box that the Constitution has put us, but it's also representation, because you're the one who is also carrying their aspirations, their frustrations, their expectations, and all those things. So as a member of the county assembly, you're expected to play also some little bit of maybe executive functions, though indirectly, which is not envisioned in the Constitution, because the Constitution as was framed in a manner of separation of powers, that the branches of government are separated, but also there is a degree of separation and some degree of fusion. So the expectation, actually, there is a law that was written by Kipchumba Murkomen the other day, an amendment to County Governments Act. In that amendment, stipulated a way that MCAs can be impeached. It's through some of the reasons that can be used to recall an MCA include those things that you have mentioned, like MCAs who like demonstrations, fights, and all those things. And I think also what we are lacking is serious civic education for the members of the public to know the kind of people they should elect to be MCAs. That limits also the quality of the members that we have in the assemblies. But the expectation that is on us from the Constitution is that of oversight, representation and legislation, and also overseeing what the county executive is doing in terms of budget and all those things.
So thank you very much, Honorable Kiogora. So from what you're saying, I get it that you're trying to say that one of the things that makes a good MCA is the ability to perform his roles as stipulated in the Constitution. So in addition to that, what do you again think? I want you to just give us like two more things that you think make a good MCA, apart from the moral and ethical requirements that are given to us by the Constitution, apart from all other requirements stipulated under the law. what is the fabric actually that you think makes a good MCA?
Yes. So 2 points. One, a good MCA is someone who is a good listener, not a good talker and saying nice things and all that, but you should be a good listener. One of the things that we see in the members of the public is the desire to be heard through public participation, through petitions, through radio stations, and through the avenues that they get. So you must be able to listen to them and to give hope. You must be a hope dispenser even through your listening. That one makes you a good leader, makes you a good MCA, that you must be able to listen to your people so that you can know how to represent them. That's a big quality, because you find some of the elected leaders or MCAs who want to talk down to members of the public, to silence them and all that, which is not good. As a leader, as an MCA, it's important to listen more and to talk less. That's when you are able also to carry people's frustrations and also give them hope. Because life is very difficult for everyone, for the average voter. So you should be able to hear them out, to listen to them. And also, you should ensure that some of the things that you think are pressing them, some of the things that are denying them access to basic needs are sorted out by listening to them, so that they can also get
constitutionally guaranteed rights. Then the other quality of a good MCA is someone who is articulative, that you must be able to articulate issues, and you must have it. You must go there to make a difference, to sort people's things. I've gone through AYLF programs myself when I was back in the university as a student leader, and there is that philosophy that AYLF used to teach each one of us who passed through AYLF, MAD, making a difference all the time, that we should be mad people. So the other quality is being mad, being someone who always wants to make a difference, someone who wants to live as something that you found different from how you found it. That if you found people not having access to health facilities or medical care, ensure that they get medical care by petitions, by going to speak to the people who are supposed to do it, that is in the executive and other avenues, to ensure that you leave a mark. Being a man person is always a plus for, of course, any MCA out there, any leader out there, not just MCA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. And now back to Studio One. Mheshimiwa, what would you say makes a good MCA? You interact with MCAs on a daily basis. So what do you think are the qualities, apart from what is provided for in the Constitution and in the law?
Thank you very much. To start with, because I know there are those watching us from other countries, Kenya, we have devolved units, and here we call them county governments, and every county government has got a county assembly, and county assemblies in the county government is a very important organ that helps the executive perform their functions. And I would say a very good member of county assembly is one who is there to represent his people or her people very well. There are lazy MCAs who cannot turn up and represent their people. So number one, you should be there in time where required to make sure that you represent them very well, not just by being there. You should also present their views. It is funny that you can have a member of the county assembly who will never utter a word in the assembly. And without giving your views, you are not giving the views of the people who elected you. So you need to be there. You need to make sure that in whatever piece of legislation, in any debate that is in the floor of the House. Do contribute, because your contribution is the contribution of the people who brought you to that county assembly. So that is very important. Another thing is, of course, members of the county assembly approves budgets and approves expenditure of resources in the county government. So a good one is also that who is able to allocate resources to the functions and the operations of the county. A good one is also someone who sees to make sure that the executive fulfill their function. For example, we have seen the governor appointing appointees, and it is the county assembly that approves. But you find that most of the time we result into baseless politics. You shoot down the list of the governor, and by doing so, we dilly-dally, we procrastinate the development and going forward of the progress in the county government. So I want to say a good county member of the county assembly is one who exactly separates politics and progress in the county government, and by doing so, we will move ahead as county governments. All right.
Thank you very much. Those are very, very good remarks, and I like what you have just said, that a good MCA is one who separates politics and progress. And with that, you begin to actually realize the importance of the kind of people who compose the county assemblies. And the formula for the composition of county assemblies has been given to us in the Constitution, and that the Constitution says that a county assembly shall comprise those who have been elected, that is, members of the county assembly who have been elected by voters, and also those who have been nominated. From where you sit, again, Honorable Mushisho, do you think that we got this formula correct? Do you think that the drafters of the Constitution got it correct? Or, for example, do you think that the Constitution should have, like the National Assembly, stipulated that, for example, we need to have a representative of workers, a representative from universities, a representative from trade unions, and such like? So do you feel that as it is, in terms of course, the allocation, the nominated seats that parties are supposed to allocate, do we have it right?
Well, number one, I will say that the Constitution is very right. The drafters of the Constitution had a very good will for our country. The only problem is the people, the electors, people who elects people to these positions. And I say so because every gender has been given an equal opportunity to vie for any seat in our country. And what happens, I think, and in our case as a country, the female gender has not been the same as the male gender. That is to say, people are not giving women a chance, but the Constitution has given them an equal platform. So, for example, governors, I think a lot of male governors went to the field, also women, but there is a high number of male governors than female governors. So the problem is not the Constitution, it's the people who has not given a good number of women a chance to be governors. So we need to appeal to the Kenyan citizens that we need to give everybody both genders an equal opportunity to lead this country, because they have the ability, they have the capacity. So I think it is just about our people. And when you talk about the nominations, I think that is upon the parties to make sure that they balance the gender in the assemblies, in the county assemblies, and even in the National Assembly and in the Senate. And in this case, a lot of women are given those nominated positions simply because they have not been given chance in the ballot. Yes.
And I like that you have talked about the role of parties in ensuring that we have more women nominated. So, Honorable Kiogora, it seems that political parties are kind of like they are the gatekeepers in ensuring that we have more women nominated in our county assemblies. So what do you think can be done to ensure that parties actually nominate women to these seats, number one? And number two, also in light of the gender moment that we seem to be experiencing as a country, what are the challenges again in ensuring that we have more women and more young women, to be specific, taking up roles in the county assemblies, or rather being nominated to the county assemblies?
Thank you very much. First of all, the Constitution envisages a situation where in representative bodies like county assemblies, there is the advanced gender rule, which is very much in operation. And there is no county assembly that is not that one gender does not have more than 2/3. All the county assemblies have met the gender requirement, and it's the parties that do the nominations per the number of seats that they have. But it's important to ensure the nomination procedure is revised, because it's left to the parties to decide
We lost you for a second. We seem to be losing you, Honorable Kiogora. I don't know whether you can get me.
I can get you clearly. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you. And you were talking about the need for parties to revise their nomination criteria. Please take it from there.
Yeah, so there's need for parties, not for parties, for the Elections Act to stipulate, there's need for the Elections Act to be amended to stipulate the kind of women who are to be nominated to the county assemblies, to lay out a clear procedure, because when you leave it to the parties, they are nominating maybe friends of the leaders and all that. But we need a clear procedure where they nominate women who are participating in politics, women who are younger, so that they can be mentored through this nomination, or they can be equalized with the men because of the issue of access to resources. So when you give them these nominations, you're also helping them to access resources so that they can go and contest even in future, because they will not be nominated like forever. There is also the issue of limiting the number of times someone can be nominated to a maximum of 2 terms, so that we do not have perennial nominees who are serving in their 4th terms from when they were county councils as people who are nominated up to now they're in the county assemblies. We need to put also a term limit to the number of times you can be nominated. Then you'll be forced to go and look for votes yourself. Otherwise, free things are not supposed to be in any what we call a free market economy. So the free things are supposed to have a limit, like the free seats, for example.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. We got you.
Yeah, like the free seats, for example. So I not completed the statement. So what we have now, the National Assembly that is not compliant with the to attend the 2000. What we have is a very bad situation, because the MPs are resistant to amending or writing the gender law that is supposed to ensure that the National Assembly meets the two-thirds gender rule. I think the Senate is compliant, but the Senate is likely to suffer because the National Assembly refused to agree on a bill that will ensure that no gender that surpasses two-thirds. And going by the remarks I'm seeing from members of parliament, members of the National Assembly on Facebook and other social platforms, they are even now not willing to change it. They are saying, let us go to elections, all of us, and let the best person win. If it's a woman, fine. If it's a man, fine. But we will be hiding. We will be hiding behind transparent glass because county assemblies have met the gender rule. What is so difficult with the National Assembly? And we have no problems in the counties. What is so special with the National Assembly that is so resistant to it? Probably the criteria of meeting the other gender rule, but to some extent, I would like to blame the drafters of the Constitution. They left a lot of work to MPs, particularly on this sensitive issue. They should have created a way for meeting the other gender rule, like the way they created for the assemblies, because the assembly one is in the Constitution. Why did they leave it open? You leave women at the mercy of men. I don't think the drafters of the Constitution saw this coming. And you know men don't want to be outnumbered and all that, and all these other issues that are out there where men feel that we are the ones who are going to work hard, look for the votes, the women will just get seats and all that. The Constitution should have spelled out how to meet the two-thirds gender rule without necessarily giving the mandate to MPs, because they are very much actually willing to have the parliament dissolved rather than pass the bill. I would rather be seeing on social platforms MPs saying, no, we have this bill, we are likely to pass it very soon, there is no need to dissolve parliament. But that's not what they're talking about. It's about, when are you dissolving it, we go back to elections. And the Constitution has made it mandatory for this thing to pass. It's one of those mandatory requirements. If they come back again after an election, if that happens, they don't pass it, they'll go home again. So we have that major problem. And I think we can cure both problems that we have in the assemblies where we don't get the quality women nominated or the right women nominated by ensuring that the criteria that is applied to ensure the two-thirds gender rule is met in parliament is the same. There's the same criteria that there's the same criteria that is applied for county assemblies, that if it's the number two contenders, so that you encourage more women to run. If it's the strongest losers who are nominated, you ensure that the strongest losers in the counties too, in the wards, are the ones who are nominated in the county assembly. So the criteria that is applied for the National Assembly should be the same criteria that is applied to the county assembly, so that we can get the right women nominated for these positions instead of having blank checks, dishing blank checks around. Because like right now, to meet the two-thirds gender rule in the National Assembly, you need to nominate 51 women. So you need a criteria that does not give favor to a few women or disadvantaging other women who are not connected to the powers that be in the political parties. Yeah, thank you.
Honorable Kiogora, for giving us your sentiments. The two-thirds gender rule and how to ensure there are more women in county assemblies. And now, Honorable Mushisho, in terms of having more women, having more young people, and also persons with disabilities in county assemblies, this is one of the questions that was raised by young people before we came here today. And the question is, how does a young person who probably does not have the resources to pull off an election so that they are elected, how can they get themselves nominated? How do you get yourself on that party list in the first place?
Well, as I have mentioned, the issue or the duty and prerogative of nominating members to the county assembly, it completely lies with parties. And I think a party also, depends on the number of seats they have won in the county assembly. More seats won, more slots for nomination. And for whoever wants to be nominated, he or she must have contributed a lot to the success of the party. So I would advise that if you want nomination, actively work with the party you want to be nominated by, contribute a lot to the party, and of course you will be given a chance, you will be noticed, your contribution, and you will be given a chance. So there is no shortcut. It is about how you contribute to the success of the political party.
Thank you, Honorable Mushisho. And there you have it. To those who had asked the question as to how they can be nominated by a party to the county assembly, you have heard that you have to make a contribution to the party in ensuring that it actually wins seats in a county assembly. So if you're not a member of a party, you probably should consider being registered in a party and being active in the activities of the party. And if you cannot find a party for you to join, probably also you can consider registering a party.
Absolutely.
Yes, I know there's one of us, young man who's a AYLF member who actually has registered a political party and he's driving the youth agenda. So you can, talk to him and see how that goes. But now we want to look into the issue of revenues of county assemblies. Again, the object of devolution was to ensure that every single county and every mwananchi in the counties from Turkana to Taita Taveta, are able to access these resources. And so one of the questions, again, that has been being debated the other day is the issue of revenue allocation. So could you please shed a light to the young people who are watching us today and are wondering, how do the counties raise money? Where do they get their funding from? Is it just taxes and all that?
Thank you very much. I think there are three ways county governments get revenue. Number one is the own source revenue. Every county is mandated to collect revenue, tap from revenue streams, those who have got quarries, those who have got parkings, those who have got other natural resources to collect revenue from. All these contribute to the own source revenue of a county. There is also the shareable revenue from the national government. There has been a debate recently of how counties share these resources, and finally the Senate has settled on the parameters to be used to give counties revenue. So there are a number of parameters that is looked, and that's why you find that there is a difference in allocating resources county to county. So you will find that probably Nairobi earns higher than Kajiado earns higher than Narok and any other county. There is some differences, and this is because of the parameters. The other way is, of course, we get support, we call it sometimes donations and loans that, of course, are distributed again to the county government using some kind of parameters. So let me say those are the three ways I know there might be others where county government gets this revenue. So yes, let me stop there, but just to add a little bit, the executive prepares budgets and allocate these resources according to the functions and departments, and this is forwarded to the county assembly. The county assembly will also try to change a bit, ratify and approves. So the county assemblies really plays a critical role in approving these budgets that are used by counties. Correct.
And now, in terms of approving, and Honorable Kiogora, you can help us with this. What determines the types of budgets that you approve and those that you do not approve? For example, we know that you're very passionate about education. We see that on your social media. You have started an air flight program for students in your ward. So, you know, when the executive here brings to you budget and a development plan that does not touch on education, but probably leans towards agriculture, you know, how do you ensure then that you're not declining and not approving this development plan because it's not based on something that you care for? Yeah, so Honorable Kiogora.
Yeah, basically, the budget making mandate is given to the assemblies, and different wards in every county have different needs, and they have different economic activities. For example, when we are making our budget and we would like to support maybe farmers who are doing coffee or who are doing banana farming or are doing potato farming, for example, those ones will be pushed by MCAs who come from areas that do that kind of farming. In my ward, for example, what we have it's almost entirely tea farms. So you find that I'll be inclined to policies that support activities geared towards the area that I present. But most of the time, budgets are written by the county executive based on the annual development plan of the whole county. Then, like in Meru County, we have what is called ward fund. That is it's not anchored in any law per se, but it's a kind of an agreement where MCAs from each and every ward sit down and write a budget for 20 million shillings, and then you bring it to be passed together with the budget. Like in Meru, we have 45 wards, so 20 million, that brings us to 900 million. So the county executive, in doing its budget, knows that 900 million of our development budget, those ones are going to come, the proposals will come from MCS and their development committees in those wards through public partition and other forums, depending on the needs of those wards. Then they will bring them to us because different areas have different needs. Therefore, we have the flagship projects that apply across the county. Then we have also ward-based projects that are pegged on the needs of every ward. So the needs of every ward are very different. And the county government itself now has the money for overall budget, for overall what we call flagship projects that apply across board. And also we have some conditional grants that go specifically to certain projects. For example, we have Danida money that goes to all dispensaries and health centers in the county. So those ones, you don't have a debate about them. So mostly you find out when there are disputes regarding the budget, it's the budget in its entirety, not specific clauses most of the time. It's the budget in its entirety, because the specific clauses can be amended in the assembly, because the assembly has the powers to decide which vote gets which amount. So most of the time sometimes the budget is used as a blackmail tool, especially during the first county government that were there in between 2013 and 17, was used as a tool of blackmail by county assemblies that you are not going to approve your budget unless the members of county assemblies. But now, whereby county governments can use a budget if the county assemblies refuse to pass it, but they have to use 50% of that budget. That's a serious loophole, because if last year I did a certain road, I will not use their county governors or county executives to survive, where they have hostile assemblies that don't want to pass the budget. Yes?
Oh, we had just lost you for a second. Yeah.
Now we're with you.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But now, mostly the budgets are either passed in wholesale or rejected in wholesale, because the minor amendments regarding minor issues in the budgets can be amended by the county assembly, because it has the power to alter the monies allocated by the county executive in various departments. But most of the time, the budgets originate from the county executive committee member or the CEC member in charge of finance. and its department. Then they are brought to the county assembly for scrutiny. Then they are also called to the assembly to defend that budget, to say, oh, you have put this money, how do you intend to use it? So they come to defend that. They also come during the quarterly reports on county government expenditures. So when those expenditures are brought to us by the controller of budget, we also call them to find out also how they're implementing the budget that we passed. So it's our whole process. The budget cycle lasts for the entire financial year. So that there's a time to answer questions on how you want to spend. After that, how you are spending, why you are not absorbing money. So there are always questions to be answered to the county assemblies, particularly through the budget committee. Thank you.
Mheshimiwa, and thank you for that elaborate explanation of budgeting and how you approve budgets at the county assembly. And now let's cross over to the other role of the county assemblies, and that is the role of making laws, their legislative role. And many a times in some counties you find that the county assemblies are not even passing bills. They're just focused on, other issues, and unfortunately they're forgetting this important legislative role. Or more often than not, they pass laws that are very weak, and it seems that they're actually not well thought through. So, what is the solution to this? Do you think that anything can be done to ensure that county assemblies and members of the county assemblies do not abdicate this role of making laws?
Well, thank you very much. Let me say that not all county assemblies are lazy to pass all these laws, but there are some, and not just some, but many of them. And in my view, I think we also need as a country to think about the qualification for a county assembly, education background, and the education qualification. A lot of counties has got MCAs who never stepped to a classroom, and that brings the question of the ability to really execute their mandate. Coming up with bills and passing these policies. I mean, it will really be wanting, and there has been a complaint of county assemblies passing really substandard bills. This again, we go back to their education qualification. So I think that is one area that we need to really think as a country, especially at the moment that we really conversing about changing the constitution through BBI, and the proposal that the BBI is bringing of having a prime minister that is in charge of government affairs, and the issue of getting a lot of CSS or ministers from the assembly. That also has to be in the county assemblies, and if that happens, then we need to think about the the education qualification, the academic qualification of the members of the county assemblies.
Probably just before you proceed, for the young people who are watching us from home and might not be, they might not know what it takes to be, the CS that you're talking about. So kindly just elaborate on that and the proposal that you're giving.
Okay, the conversation that is going on right now in the country about the BBI and the changes that will come along in the BBI. One of them is maybe 3/4 of the ministers, members, cabinet secretaries will be coming from the National Assembly, MPs. So if that is replicated in the county assembly, because that should happen, then the CCs, we call them county executive committee members will also be coming from the county assembly. And if that happens, then we need to think about the academic qualification of the members of the county assembly. But even before we go we go there, already we have a gap. And this is contributed by the low education of the county assembly members. So what you have just mentioned might have been occasioned by the lack of education in some of the county assembly members. So that is just one. Of course, the other issue is too much politics will hamper the progress of the county. So if a county assembly engages too much into politics, then we forget the primary role and our function as a county assembly, and therefore that can also be a factor, a contributing factor to the shortfall that we are experiencing right now in the county assemblies. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mushisho, and that is a very good suggestion. It is actually very critical to start considering the academic qualifications of members of county assemblies. And Mheshimiwa Kiogora, it would be interesting to know at your county assembly, the Meru County Assembly, is that a problem that you grapple with? Do you have a high number of members who seem not to grasp certain issues when it comes to the making of laws solely because of their academic backgrounds and their academic qualifications? Honorable Kiogora? I don't know whether you can hear me clearly, but let me just ask you the question again. And the question is, Honorable Mushisho here has explained that one of the challenges in ensuring the effective carrying out of the role, the legislative role of members of county assemblies is the issue of their academic background and their academic qualifications. So you find that we expect MCAs to come up with laws, but most of these MCAs have not even seen the doors to a classroom. They have never been to school. So we are wondering whether this is a challenge that you experience in your county assembly, the Meru County Assembly, as you go about in this role of making laws and making legislation.
Actually, I don't know how to respond because I didn't hear any of it. I can't hear anything from that side. I'm waiting for the audios, but I can't hear you.
Oh, you cannot get us from the studio? Yes. So, sorry about that. But the question is the MCAs have a role, and that role is to make legislation. Yeah. But now from the discussion that we have just had with Mheshimiwa Mushisho is that one of the problems that we are seeing that some county assemblies are not able to make laws, or rather they are not passing laws, is because of the issue of their academic background. So we have people who have never been to a classroom, and yet we are expecting them to legislate, to come up with bills, to come up with laws, and so on and so forth. So we are wondering whether this is a challenge that you have experienced as the County Assembly of Meru in terms of that role, the legislative role. Are you passing laws as you're supposed to, or is this an area of weakness that some MCAs do not understand these issues because they have not been to school and they've never seen the door of a classroom?
Let me attempt to answer your question because I did get it from my, but I think it's based on the academic background of the members who are in county assembly. What
important. And if you look at the Elections Act of 2012, it gave a timeline of up to 2022 for guys who vie for parliament to have a degree, for guys who vie for county assemblies to have at least a diploma. And one of the challenges that we have is education background. Most of the people in many ones elect the people for their academic profile. Oh, this guy comes from a village. This one has been with us for a long time. This one attends funerals more than that other one. Such a thing. So you find that the expectations of those that particular NGO is elected is not able to play them because of the academic. Also, to visit some county assembly and ask for unsung record. You see that there are members who have never stood in the assembly to say anything other than saying hi or nay whenever a question is. So, if they defeat the intention of the constitution of having people.
You seem to be losing you, Honorable Kyogora. If you could just check your sound. Come closer to your microphone. Kindly come closer to your microphone. Honorable Kyogora, you can get Honorable Kyogora, we seem to have lost Honorable Kyogora. Unfortunately, there seems to be a little sound problem from where he is. But just to remind us all again, thank you for everyone who's following online, and we have received some of your questions and some of your comments. So please keep them coming. We'll post them to Honorable Moshisho and Kyogora as we move along. And touching on the issue of budgetary allocation, there was the big question of the wage bill and the ballooning wage bill. And there were some suggestions that we should try and trim, county assemblies and reduce the number of MCAs as a way to stop the ballooning of the wage bill. Do you think this is a good solution, or what are the initiatives that can be taken maybe to maintain the numbers but still go easy on our wage bill?
Very well. It is true the wage bill is ballooning, but I might not give a suggestion that we have to reduce the number of wards because having many wards also translates to resources trickling down to Mwananchi. So we should not just look as at a point of MCS getting salary and using a lot of money. Let's also think that an award is a unit that helps resources trickle down to Wananchi. So, that is the spirit of devolution. Money going down to the smallest unit. And something else is about anytime the boundaries are set, there are a number of guidelines, there are a number of qualifications that an area has to fulfill to be able to be set as a ward or a constituency. So yes, the wage bill is high, but let's not think of unfolding some of the wards or even constituencies, because Wananchi will not even allow. Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable. And again, if you just stick still on the role of MCAs and the relations between the county assemblies and the county executive, it seems as though MCAs use their role and that they use impeachment as a tool to either force out what they want from governors or to just try and try and curtail them, yeah? So do you think that MCAs use this tool of impeachment incorrectly? Do you think they use it as a way to twist the county executive? And what do you think causes this sour relationship between county assemblies and members of the county assemblies and you, the county executive?
Yes, the county assemblies has got a role to oversight over the executive and to ensure that there is prudence in the utilization of resources. And in that case, then where the executive misappropriate, they have a role to take any action against the executive and against the governor. So that is their role. But let me say that county assemblies has also been used to fight governors, especially if a governor does not, go to your tune. You use the county assembly to make sure that you pin him or her down. And that is why we say these impeachments sometimes are misused, and that is our position, and that is our view as the county governors and deputy governors. So county assemblies should not allow them, allow themselves being used in a bad way to fight governors. It is about politics. Sometimes you are implicated of something that is really not true, just to show you that you are not dancing to our tune, and that should not be the case. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And probably let's go to Honorable Kiogora. I hope you can hear us clearly. And it seems we have lost Honorable Kiogora. So probably if he can hear us, he can just quickly jump in and contribute to that. And generally, Honorable Moshisho, again, so we have looked at the role of MCAs, we've looked at the role as to oversight, we've looked at their legislative role. Is there anything that you feel that the members of the county assemblies should be doing, or is in their role to do, but unfortunately they are probably not doing it right or not doing it at all? And we'd also maybe love to hear from Kajiado and how the Kajiado County Assembly is also performing.
Very well. I would give an example of our county assembly and our executive. We work very closely. We work together, and that has really given us an opportunity to speed progress and deliver efficiently to the people of Kajiado County, and that should be replicated in the rest of the counties. The executive and the county assembly should work closely, and by doing so, service delivery will not be will be hampered, will not be slowed down, and where differences come in, we sit down and solve amicably. Differences happens, but what matters is how we solve them, and we should not solve them in a political way that leads to fight that will hamper the progress of a county. We should solve amicably and continue working together. The unity of the county government, the executive and the legislative arm equals quick and efficient service delivery.
And also, just as we are winding down, because we are already out of time, one of the things that we could not finish without discussing is the conduct of MCAs. You know, sometimes you watch the news and you wonder, first and foremost, where do these chairs come from? That are thrown over and hurled over at each other. So, is there a way they can be curtailed? How can we discipline MCAs? Who is in charge of disciplining MCAs? Yeah, is there a committee, for example, in the county assemblies that reigns on them and asks them to behave and things like that?
I think that question will be best answered by Kyogora, because he's part of the assembly. I tend to believe that there is a committee that also handles the conduct of the MCS. Of course, being involved in the county assembly, demands discipline. It's a house of protocol. It's a house of laws, and therefore, if an assembly cannot abide by the law, then they might not have just to make laws that someone outside there have to follow. And therefore, I believe they have got a way of disciplining errand members, and Mheshimiwa Kyogora will confirm to us whether that is the case in the county assemblies. Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable. I don't know whether Mheshimiwa Kyogora can now get us. Mheshimiwa Kyogora, we are talking about the issue of discipline and wondering where those chairs you throw at each other come from when they need to be thrown. And basically the issue of discipline, how do you curtail yourselves? How do you ensure that you behave well? So that we do not see extreme circumstances where maybe a member of the county assembly actually loses their life.
Like the case of Migori,
Yes.
A member of the county assembly was reported to have broken an arm.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you very much again.
Are you with us now? Exactly. So, Mheshimiwa Moshisho is pointing out that in the case of Migori.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can now hear you. And we are talking about the issue of discipline. What can be done to discipline members? And we are pointing out, like, for example, in Migori the other day, we had a member who injured her arm, and because of the fracas in the assembly. And so we are wondering, do you have disciplinary committees in the assembly? Who is in charge of ensuring that you guys stay within line?
Yeah, so in every assembly we have the powers and privileges committee, which is a major deals with disciplinary matters when it comes to members. But right now we have a law, the County Governments Act amendment, the amendment that was passed this year, that stipulates just that in case an MCA is caught fighting, they can be recalled. The voters from their ward can correct a third of the signatures from a third of the registered voters in that ward and recall them based on fighting. So it's a major disciplinary issue and can actually make you lose your seat right now. It was not like that before. So, human beings are sentimental everywhere. And you have seen even in the National Assembly, especially when there was the passage of the security bill, the National Security Bill, there was confrontation assembly back then. It's the same in the county assemblies where there are sentimental issues under discussion, like impeachment, and various sides have been mobilized to come and prevent the other side from, casting the vote and all that. But right now, discipline has been entrenched through the County Government's Amendment. The amendment to the County Governments Act. Then also the Powers and the Privileges Committee of in every assembly is supposed to, ensure discipline. But now the problem with the Powers and Privileges Committees of these assemblies is that the members of those committees are members of the assembly. So, like, you expect a policeman to discipline himself. So it's a problem. So the only way out to ensure that there is discipline and
Yes, the only way to ensure there's discipline in the House and in the Assembly.
Mechanism in county provisions of the to ensure that MCAs who misbehave or who fight, like we have seen in Nairobi County Assembly, in Migori County Assembly, and others, to ensure that members who behave like that are disciplined, because it also boils down to the issue of exposure, academic exposure. You know, going to school does not just give you good grades and nice certificates. It also gives you exposure, ways of interacting with other people, levels, issues to do with courses to do with conflict and conflict management, peace building, and all that. So that's where also academics come in, because I would be surprised to see someone who has a master's degree or a PhD lifting a chair to hit somebody else, to hit a colleague. Yeah.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa, for that. And indeed, it's true. Once we look at academic qualifications, probably we're going to see a reduction in that. And it's also a good thing that now we have the law in place that gives us solutions when MCAs are seen to be behaving badly and fighting in the House. And Mheshimiwa Kiogora, when you were away, this is the question we wanted to ask you as we now wind down. And basically, you know, as we were coming to this again, we really, as we talked to young people to get their comments as to the questions to pose to you, one of the things that was cutting across is the issue of, you know, what exactly is your role, in the sense that sometimes we probably are demanding of you what is not in your role to provide. Yeah? In the sense that, for example, I see that sometimes when it comes to the construction of roads, and you find an MCA receiving backlash from the people for not constructing that road, and yet it is the role of the MP to do that. So is there any clarification that you would like to make today? Because even as we head into the election, so that we have our young people know that this is the yardstick. If your MCA has done this, then yes, they deserve a second chance and they deserve to be elected again. If they have not done this, then they should not be elected. Mheshimiwa Kiogora.
Yeah, so
The work of an MCA, the constitutional job of an MCA begins and ends inside the county assembly. If you are out there in the field, according to the constitution, if you are out there in the field, it's because you are collecting views of the members of the public, of your electorate. What is called public participation. That's what you are doing in the field. The work of constructing roads, classrooms, and all these other projects is the work of the governor and his executive committee member. If it's the construction of a market, is the executive committee member in charge of trade. But you know, now we exist in a different world that does not follow what is in the constitution, that expects, like, if this letter is bad, it's the MCA. Yeah, and no, you have to go an extra mile so that you can be elected. You must now push the executive committee member to come. And in our case where we have a gentleman's agreement of over the existence of a ward fund, because you find out in some counties they will do development in wards where MCAs are supporting them or where MCAs are backing them. If you are critical of the governor regarding his performance or otherwise, you are likely not to see resources coming to your ward. But in our ward, in our county, like Meru, where everyone gets money regardless of how you treat the governor or whether you are supporting his agenda or not, then that does not surface. Therefore, we have a situation whereby the Mwananchi expects that you are the ones to do the executive. They don't know that minister. They never elected the minister, they elected you. So you are expected to go an extra mile and do things that are not prescribed for you in the constitution. That's of pushing and ensuring that executive functions are played out or development is executed at the grassroots. Because there is one thing, you want to survive, you want to have your job as an MCA, and you want the Mwananchi to get also services from their leaders or from you. So ideally, an MCA should be like the way the senator is. You realize nobody has actually asked the senator anything. At least the MPs have the CDF. No one asks the senators anything because they're just there in the Senate legislating. That is the way the MCAs are supposed to be. Right now, I'm supposed to be campaigning and saying, no, I have these bills to my name. So you realize that in many county assemblies, is where you pass so many bills, nobody reads them, nobody implements them because there are so many. They are touching on, sometimes they are overlapping, so there is bill overload. So nobody wants to touch on anything. So you should be campaigning on the basis of what petition did I bring on behalf of my people? What questions did I ask during question time or through MCA question papers? Then how many bills? Like where I sit as Kyogora, I know I have 3 bills to my name. Like how many bills do you have as a member of a county assembly to your name? So that is where we should be doing. But if you look, I think you as an MCA, you need to look at it, or as someone who aspires to be an MCA, you don't need to be micro focused on what the constitution says, but you have to accommodate also the perception or the way the Mwananchi expects you to do, so that you can try to do it and also try to speak on their behalf. The other thing that an MCA should ensure that they are doing is doing public participation, so that whenever you have a platform to talk, or whenever the governor and his ministers are saying your word, you are able to say those things that the members of the public want done. Because you not get a chance to speak, you are there to speak for them. At least there you do your representation role. Whenever, say, someone in the executive is there, you load this information to them that the members of the public want 1, 2, 3, 4 things. Like, you need to have the problems of your people at your fingertips so that you can push them. In counties where the governors have given MCAs some privileges of determining the amount of money to go to their wards, and the kind of work to be carried out, you are able to direct what is supposed to be done because you know what is supposed to be done in what location, in what village, and all that. Then also, you also need to display your legislative work perfectly.
Let me just
Yeah.
cut you there shortly. And you've raised very pertinent points on, number one, the understanding. Clearly, the public and we young people do not understand the role and we expect of you over and above what even the Constitution required of you in the first place. But anyway, and that is why we are grateful to the Africa Youth Leadership Forum for organizing such forums for us to understand the roles of our MCAs and the roles of our county assemblies. And because, again, we are 15 minutes out of time, I just want to quickly run through some of the questions and comments that were raised. And probably just, I'll give you a minute each to respond to this. Hudson Amenya from Facebook said that most county assemblies have failed in their oversight role in the devolved units. The governors are godfathering most MCAs, hence they cannot call out vices such as corruption and poor decisions by the executive. Again, Muka asked you, Honorable Kyogora, what are some of the key budgetary initiatives that MCAs do with the 20 million allocation? Probably you can quickly answer that. What is it that you do with the 20 million allocation to your ward? We seem to, again, have...
Yeah, for example, when you come to my ward, for example, the common problem that people point to are roads.
Access, good, accessible roads. Everywhere you go, people are talking about roads. So 50% of that 20 million, which is 10 million, goes to roads without question, because roads are the key issue. The economic activities, milk farming, dairy farming, and tea farming. So access to tea buying centers and also ferrying of milk from farms to collection points relies on good roads. So roads are key. Then 3 million annually goes to bursaries. So you are left with 7 million out to dangle around for youth programs. If you have tournaments that are going around on young people and seminars, or maybe a classroom, construct one ECD class. But I normally look at the needs of every school. There are schools that don't need ECD classes, but need refurbishment of
Again, we seem to have Mheshimiwa Kiogora, but thank you for answering that question, Muka. As you have heard, from the 20 million that is allocated to his ward, a good percentage goes to roads, another percentage goes to bursaries, and the last percentage goes to matters such as youth development and tournaments and so forth. And we also have a comment from Hudson Amenya, who says, I think that is now a reserve of the appointing authority, governors in this case, but critically looking at it, the appointments should reflect the education backgrounds of those given the roles. That is on the issue of CSs and county executive committee members. Muka again says that with the rethought of academic qualifications, does it suggest that the CECs appointed from the assembly will have met the qualifications of the said department? You can touch on that, Mheshimiwa Mushisho. And Hudson again said, very commendable proposal from you on the academic qualifications. We also have maybe two more questions that you can answer, Honorable Mushisho, from YouTube. Thank you again for those who posted your questions and comments on YouTube. Beryl Maritim asks, has impeachment become ammunition against the executive? Julie Keane says that this is a very informative talk. AYLF should organize for these talks across all counties. She's watching from Oyugis. Receive our greetings from Oyugis, Julie. And then finally, to you, Mushisho, Honorable, do the approved budgets contain any funds for civic education or to facilitate public participation in county decision making? Because it's clear that public participation is a right under the Constitution, actually, and it's also necessary so that the members of the public can understand the rules that are played.
Very well. Let me start with the issue with public participation, and let me say that public participation is a huge thing with county governments. It is about the people themselves to decide how resources are allocated. And yes, every ward has got an allocation that the MCA has a word to it, but has to go through public participation, and there must be concurrence between the MCS, the leaders of those wards, and the people themselves, to be able to allocate resources. And yes, resources might not be enough for now, and they might never be enough, but we are advocating for more resources to the counties, and by more allocation will go to the wards. So that is what we are advocating for. Hopefully, if the change of the Constitution will come, we will advocate for more resources to be allocated to county government, so that more will be able to go down to the smallest unit, that is the ward, and people will be able to enjoy our services. But let me say that not all roads should be serviced by the county government. There are classes of roads, those that are in the county government and those that are left with the national government through, to Kenya rural roads, and there are those highways to Kenha, and so forth and so forth. Yes, the governor carries a huge budget to ensure that development happens. But governors should always try to distribute those resources, or do huge projects that will bring an impact to the entire county. Yes, so someone asked about the weaponization of the impeachments. I said, and I will say again, it is being weaponized against governors who assumed to be singing or dancing to the tune that the parties or political rivals dancing. So I said county assemblies should not be used to use impeachments as a weapon to fight governors, because by doing so, we really disrupt the progress and the development of a county. So that is my point on impeachments. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Mheshimiwa, for tackling those questions very well. And so what would your last parting shot be to county assemblies and to those members of the county assemblies who are joining us also from the AYLF platform? What would you tell them? And I'm also curious, is there any particular MCA that you think has done an exceptional job in this country and in your county?
I will not mention single out any because I have not really analyzed, but let me say that there are a number of county assemblies that have done a tremendous job, and I want to congratulate them wherever they are, especially county assemblies that has really risen enough to work with the executive. I do not support county assemblies to fight the executive. And I don't really support the executive undermining and making the county assembly's job difficult. I really support counties that the legislative arm and the executive work really closely together. And I'm pretty sure that kind of working closely together speeds up progress. And someone has mentioned that there are some MCAs who are allowed to go to bed with the executive. And I would like to ask the members of the public that any time the executive works closely together and gels very well with the assembly, let's not see it as going to bed with each other, or there is a cooperation to plunder and misappropriate funds. That should not be the case. But harmony in a county, harmony, unity equals to progress. So let's not misunderstand the working together and the understanding of both organs, and think that there is something being cooked and these people are cooperating to misappropriate funds. That should not be the case, because we have examples of counties that resulted into fighting, wrangles day in, day out, and people are living miserably. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mushisho, for your comments, and I like that we should focus on harmony, because without harmony we will definitely not progress. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to an end of today's discussion, and I think one of the biggest things that we can take home today is that we as young people need to rise up and take up our positions. We should ask questions, we should participate, we should interrogate the kind of budgets that our assemblies are approving, the kind of policies that are being done by assemblies and the executive. Because if we sit back and do not do this, we'll always end up blaming our assemblies and blaming our governors for things that we should have pointed out at the beginning. And so again, it's very crucial and it's imperative for us to understand the roles of the members of the county assemblies, so that when we go to elections in the coming 2022 elections, we know what yardstick we should judge our MCAs for and not expect more than is actually required of them. Thank you again to everybody who sent in your comments, sent in your questions, and thank you for following through. And as you can clearly see, I am guilty of enjoying this conversation too much and not stopping Honorable Mushisho and Honorable Kyogora where I should have stopped them so that we ended at 3:30 on the dot. But thank you so much for your patience. See you again on the third Thursday of next month. Asanteni sana.
Thank you.